You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 47 of 2026. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on X at OVKiev. Follow us at The Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / The Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you'd like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. Our winning cappers to get the premium plays before the line moves. You can also support us on patreon.com. If nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers and become a free Picks and Telegram subscriber. I am back from my vacation in Playa del Carmen. It was great. The beach a little bit messy, too much seaweed. That sargassum has kind of overtaken it. I guess that's happening in Miami and all over the place, getting worse and worse. But, the great thing about the resort we're at, or timeshare, is it's beautiful. I mean, the pools are huge. They're amazing. Swim-up bars, the kids' pools as well if you have some kids. All-inclusive is obviously the funnest thing, and you get a lot of different deals over there anyway. So we just had an absolute blast out in the sun. Got sunburned a little bit, had to peel a little bit. My shoulder's still peeling, but all in all, that's what a vacation's all about now. June, I would probably want to do it a little bit earlier in the year. Not that it gets cold in Arizona, but June, probably not the most ideal. It is for kids getting off school. Spring break's also too packed usually, and fall break, not a terrible time to go down there either. But I had a blast down there, and I was glad to just get a break from a lot of sports. The UFC White House, I was still able to watch because it was the Sunday afterwards, which was a phenomenal show. I very much enjoyed it. I loved the whole fight card. I mean, I love the fact that they really did a great tribute to the United States of America on our 250th birthday. And I really enjoyed the crowd. It was huge. And I thought they did a fantastic job, Dana White, out there on the White House lawn. So that was a great thing. And another great thing is watching this dude on Twitter. I'm going to find his name here. Freddie LA7, at Freddie LA7. He's this German dude. Now has 659,000 followers, tweeting just about how cool the U.S. is. Watching that is awesome. As a matter of fact, what I'm starting to hear is everybody visiting the country is just doing all these fun things. Like, I guess I never thought about Outdoor World and how cool it is there because it's massive and there's a shooting range inside, and he tweeted about that and Buc-ee's gas station and like all the cool things that we have in the United States that aren't in other places of the world. I guess we don't take it for granted. So I guess I should probably enjoy myself more when I go to some of these places, maybe Shields or Dick's or something like that. But it's cool to see all the fans from the World Cup all over the world come here and have such a good time. Even Derek Stevens tweeted at this dude who I don't think he's shown his face yet, but this Freddie guy offering him a stay at the Circa and Stadium swim. So he was either going to pick him up on his jet too. If I was that kid, I would do that. But he's having a blast. And I heard the Scottish people have invaded Boston and almost drank Boston out of beer. That kind of makes me feel a little bit blushing being from Wisconsin. I'm like, seriously? You're going to let Scottish people make you look bad, Americans? Come on, get in the pubs and start slamming some freaking beer, right? Those guys can drink, and they're proving it. They probably we're saving up for this World Cup over the last 4 years, and there's so many people here, and it's fun. And I never thought I'd really even watch much of the World Cup. I have maybe I think about the one that was 12 years ago. No, it was about 16 years ago was the one I watched. But this one, I didn't think I was going to watch much of it, but it is somewhat interesting. Do I love soccer? Not really. When people get touched, do they go down and start grabbing their legs and screaming like they just had their liver ripped out? Yes. I think that's really weird about soccer. Obviously, very few goals, but it does get exciting. And it's cool to see the U.S. play a pretty cool offensive game. I saw the U.S. play in Mexico, and that was fun to watch. Got to watch Mexico play with lots of Mexican people. And, it was fun. It wasn't overwhelmingly like you think, oh, wow, these people love their soccer more than football. No, when I go to the bar and watch somebody cheering for the Bears or somebody cheering for the Cowboys or the Giants or whatnot, any popular NFL team, it still was bigger than at the resort. They had a room full of people that were vacationing there from Mexico as well and watching the World Cup. Now, it was cool to watch them. They were definitely big fans and they were screaming, but it wasn't overwhelming like some people talk about. But, it's been a cool summer so far, and betting the World Cup, I haven't had any luck doing it. I did a few personal bets, but our buddy Will Hill bet a bunch of ties and parlayed them together and he cashed pretty big on some of that. So it was fun to watch Will do that. I missed that day, apparently, and the next day I tried it and lost. I was hoping to catch a few ties, but just as a small personal $20 bet, I otherwise make it a little bit more into the World Cup, and maybe I do make a few more bets, but it's not going to be based upon any of my research so much, maybe very minimal research. It'll probably be based upon others. Now, the U.S. Open is this week, so you still have a ton of sports coming your way. You got college baseball, which I love college baseball. All the books are offering lines on that, but it's very juiced. But, if you like betting college baseball, the College World Series is fantastic in Omaha. And the U.S. Open, of course, we have a great guest in Mr. Patrick Gates to talk about the U.S. Open. And I'm excited to get Patrick back on and break down this wonderful U.S. Open event, one of the 4 majors in golf in the PGA Tour. So we're going to talk to Patrick about that. But before Patrick comes on, going to get right back into the NFL, baby. Last week's podcast was recorded about 5 days prior, so I could have a good vacation without having to worry about it. So I haven't really talked in almost 14 days. Maybe that's showing right now, but I'm excited to talk more NFL. And we have another play for you. So without further ado, let's get into a little NFC West action. So the NFC West was the strongest division in all of football. The Seahawks and Rams themselves were power rated number 1 and number 2, while the Niners were good, yet once again had the injury bug. The Cardinals were the redhead stepchild in the division, yet kept some games pretty close. There's some big changes with a few teams as the Super Bowl hangover kind of looms for the Seahawks for 2026, 2027. As you know, the Cardinals fired John Gannon, their coach, and they have another rebuilding season ahead of them. It sucks to kind of rebuild and then rebuild again. Drafting a quarterback first overall that was, a little bit not NFL caliber will do that to you, and then give him a massive contract later. We've talked enough about that in the past, but the NFC West. They play the NFC East in the AFC West for their 2026-2027 football season. I call that medium hard because, the NFC East still has the Eagles. You have a better Giants team, a Washington team with a quarterback now, and a very good offense with Dallas. And then the AFC West is, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos, and, of course, the Raiders. But I would still call this a medium hard schedule. Can we get another Super Bowl champion from this division 2 years in a row? The market does seem to think that. But here's what I think. So I'm going to have a best bet for you very soon. Getting into the number one team, and then I have the Rams as the number one power rated team this year. The Vegas win total 11.5, juice to the over minus 115, 2025 wins 12, Pythagorean wins 12.08. Their schedule's hard at large versus the Bills, versus the Packers, and at the Buccaneers. Last year's schedule was also hard, though. Key losses: edge, Jared Verse, cornerback, Jacoby Durant, cornerback, Ankello Witherspoon, cornerback, Roger McQuarrie, quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, and offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. Key additions: offense coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, edge, Myles Garrett, cornerback, Jalen Watson, and linebacker, Grant Stewart. Key draft picks: quarterback, Ty Simpson, tight end, Max Clare, and tackle, Keegan Trost. Here's my summary. The Rams keep doing Rams things, dominant in some games with some serious head scratchers in others. The Rams did make it to the NFC Championship game against the Seahawks, but they really should have lost their earlier playoff game against both the Panthers and the Bears. Both playoff games. I mean, Panthers were beating them for a long time, and then the Bears were driving with a tie and threw the interception. The Rams were one of the healthiest teams in the league entering the playoffs. Either way, I had this team power rated right there with the Seahawks at the end as the whole season, really. I would say probably a third into the season and on, I had these as my two best teams. And to be honest, that's going to carry over for this year. The Rams lost a lot less than the Seahawks, let's say. They also, free agency losses a couple cornerbacks, but getting Myles Garrett was a massive trade. And they're just giving up a bunch of future picks. Now, if you look back, the Rams haven't really had any picks. And the one that they had in Jared Verse, they just traded. So they're just a bad first-round picking team, as you saw with Ty Simpson here. And I'll get into that. But I have to give them a terrible grade for the future, but an awesome grade for the Myles Garrett and their additions this year. I don't know what the Browns are kind of like that farm team, like we mentioned before, right? But I'll tell you this season, I had to power rate them number one because of that, and probably because of Cliff Kingsbury. But Myles also is a guy that stays healthy, right? So I think you have a lot of faith that he's going to play the whole year. Jared Verse just kind of had an offish year last year. He wasn't that great. The defense of the Rams was kind of the problem. They were kind of an averagey type defense. As a matter of fact, if you look at the EPA on defense, it was 12th against the run, 7th against the pass, but 11th in success rate and a dropback success rate against the pass there. So back to my thoughts. Mike LaFleur left, right? But is that big of a deal? He's a head coach of the Cardinals in the same division, but Nate Scheelhaase was promoted to offensive coordinator, and there's going to be consistency there. And plus, Sean McVay kind of runs that himself a little bit, but now you got an assistant head coach in Cliff Kingsbury, who's a fantastic offensive mind. So I think just the offense just gets better, as long as, some of their older receivers like Devontae Adams stay healthy. I know Puka Nacua had some injury problems as well. So even though their draft gets an F, this year is looking great for the Rams. Ty Simpson, stupider pick even now than when I talked about it after the draft, because now that you get Myles Garrett, imagine just adding a stud at like 13th pick. You could have added some serious depth to that defensive line. So this was even dumber of a pick to me. But the problem is, if there's a key injury around there, you're going to think about what the Rams could have done. But either way, I think they win 11.54 games. That's my number. Their power rating is number one at 6.5 points better than the average team. Am I a little low on that? Maybe. I could move them to 7. We'll see how week 1 happens to come to fruition. Seattle Seahawks, number 2. Vegas win total 10.5, juice to the under, -115. 2025 wins was 14 wins, and their Pythagorean wins was 13.34. Schedule's medium hard this year. At large versus the Patriots, versus the Bears, and at the Panthers. So good for them. They get to face the Panthers. I mean the Bears, that could be hard, but I don't know. It's the Bears could take a step forward. The Patriots, they're a good team, not a great team. Kind of, you'll see that Super Bowl right away. That Super Bowl rematch right away this year, early. Schedule last year was also hard though, right? So medium hard from hard to medium hard. We'll see how it goes. They lost offense coordinator Clint Kubiak, edge Boye Mafe, running back Kenneth Walker, safety Kobe Bryant to the Bears, cornerback Tariq Woolen, and running back Cam Akers. Key additions: edge Dante Fowler Jr. and cornerback Noah Igbognanagi. Key draft picks: running back Jadarian Price, safety Bud Clark, and a bunch of dudes. So my summary here, let's pretend that I didn't pick the Seahawks last year to finish last. Is that okay? Last in the division, I said. But, I mean, Sam Darnold made me look like an idiot. Made a lot of people look like an idiot. I thought it was kind of regression time for him, but he certainly beat my expectations. But if I can go back last year, I'd probably do the same thing again and be wrong, because I look for these spots of where a quarterback overachieve with another team and then he moves to another team and then he fails. I mean, I've seen that happen more often than not. Just didn't happen last year. But I must say the road wasn't all that hard, being the number 1 seed in football here. Very, very poor AFC representation with the lucky Patriots. They didn't belong, but still, they were still like the best team last year. I don't know if they're going to get to 14 wins this year. I don't like their draft pick in Jadarian Price to replace Kenneth Walker. No reason you should have drafted someone in the first round like that. Safety Bud Clark does come in to alleviate some of the losses on the defense, but I think Boye Mafe was better than getting Dante Fowler to replace him. On the offensive side of the ball, though, it's so funny. This team only ranked 14th in offensive EPA. It's like they won the Super Bowl number 1 defense, but only 14th in offensive EPA. They didn't have to do too much because of how good that defense was and how they were so healthy last year. Their injuries were almost nothing. Losing Clint Kubiak could also spell for a little bit more regression. At least they got a guy in Brian Fleury from the Shanahan tree, so I kind of like that. Anything from the Shanahan tree usually turns out pretty well for you. For offensive coordinator there.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Last year, the Seahawks were one of the healthiest teams in football, as I mentioned, but there could be a Super Bowl hangover now. So maybe this schedule will once again be hard, but they at least have +9 net rest days. I love the fact that they got +9 net rest days. That'll help. But I have them power rated second in the NFL. Rams 1, Seahawks number 2 out of this division. And I have them just a tick under the Rams. My number is that they win 11.67 games based on a slightly easier schedule than the Rams. I lean over 10.5 wins, but I'm just not quite there yet. Just because of the Super Bowl hangover year. I hate betting Super Bowl teams the next year. At least not on a weekly basis, but like on a season-long basis. Seattle's power rating 6.25 points better than the average team. Now, the San Francisco 49ers is number 3. Another powerful team. Vegas win total 9.5, juice to the over, -140. 2025 wins was 12. Pythagorean wins 10.53, scheduled medium easy at large games versus the Dolphins, at the Falcons, and versus the Vikings on a neutral field. Schedule last year was hard. Key losses: wide receiver Juwan Jennings, wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, defensive tackle Jordan Elliott, edge Yetur Gross-Matos, tackle Spencer Burford, running back Brian Robinson, defensive tackle Kalia Davis, defensive tackle Kevin Givens. Key additions: wide receiver Mike Evans, tackle Vidarian Lowe, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, linebacker Luke Gifford, quarterback Nate Hobbs, wide receiver Christian Kirk, guard Brett Toth, defensive coordinator Ricky Morris. Key draft picks: wide receiver Dijon Stribling, edge Romello Height, running back Kalon Black, defensive tackle Grayson Holt. In summary, another year, another injured season for the Niners. It's a situation where I don't know if Shanahan just beats the crap out of them, but they hit hard and they get injured. But when healthy, this team could be great. And as I said last year, the same as I said last year, the 49ers lost a ton in free agency, had a poor draft again this year. But for this season, they lost a little bit less than last year. Still a bad draft. I hate their draft, but this is also Kyle Shanahan. Doesn't matter. Can make guys that are mediocre look really good. They did upgrade the receiving. I don't care that they lost Juwan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne. I think getting that big red zone receiver in Mike Evans is huge. So I actually call that an upgrade. George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the league, has had some injury problems himself. But if everybody stays healthy, this is going to be a great offense again, a dominant offense. But then let's go to the defense. Can edge rusher Nick Bosa play a whole season? Fred Warner was back late from injury in that last playoff game, but it didn't matter. This defense isn't quite as strong in the trenches as well as the secondary as they were in the past. That's kind of my worry. And they lost Jordan Elliott, a defensive tackle there, and Kalia Davis. So that's where they're going to be a little bit weak. I don't like the defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. I'm sorry. I don't think he's a good coordinator either, but maybe Shanahan whips him back into shape a little bit as he comes from being just that poor head coach in Atlanta. I think losing Robert Saleh wasn't great. So, that's the whole thing about, success is you lose the guys. Robert Saleh, now a head coach again at the Titans. So one of those situations where the Niners have the tools, but they have to stay healthy and have to have some good defensive coaching to be competitive in the best division in football. The Seahawks ate them for breakfast last year. If you remember, the Seahawks ate them for breakfast. I think the Niners are going to be in the mix, but that's based upon the great coaching, Kyle Shanahan, and some injury luck. I like betting on great coaches. This season win total at 9.5 is too low. You won 12 games last year. Your Pythag was 10.53, and I'm getting a 9.5 with a healthier team. Take the over as my best bet. Over 9.5 minus 120 for the San Francisco 49ers, and we'll give them a power rating of 3 points above the average team to start out the season.
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
Next, the lovely Arizona Cardinals. I live in Arizona. But good thing I'm not an Arizona Cardinals fan because they won 3 games last year. Their win total this year is 4.5, juiced to the under, minus 160. Pythagorean wins last year, 5.33. So they definitely underachieved. See a lot of that at the outliers, as you know. Schedule hard, at large, versus the Lions, versus the Jets, at the Saints. Kind of sucks to get the Lions at large with the 4th place schedule, right? Schedule last year was hard, though, as well. Key losses, clearly coach Jonathan Galen, quarterback Kyler Murray, safety Jalen Thompson, defensive tackle Delvin Tomlinson, defensive tackle Calais Campbell, who was kind of like an edge guy anyway, a defensive end, really. Linebacker Akeem Davis Gather, Gaither. Evan Brown, a guard. Running back, Amari DeMarcado, who I thought was pretty good. Tackle, Jonah Williams. Edge, Bilal Nichols. Tackle, Kelvin Beacham. Guard, Will Hernandez. Key additions, Coach Mike LaFleur. Guard, Isaac Suimalo. Running back, Tyler Algier. Defensive tackle, Roy Lopez. Wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne. Guard, Elijah Wilkinson, and a bunch of fill-in dudes. Key draft picks, running back, Jeremiah Love. Guard, Chase Bisantis. And quarterback, Carson Beck. Summary. All right. So let's also pretend that this wasn't my sleeper team last year. Glad I kind of got off them. They were actually decent against the spread. They weren't the worst ATS team. They just couldn't win games as a dog. But it's rebuilding time, and this season might be a total dumpster fire because of that. They did pick up some serviceable guys in free agency, serviceable, I should say. Great draft pick in Jeremiah Love, but was it great at number 3 overall or whatever it was? I'm not so sure about that. Oh, man. The poor guy might not even get out of the backfield, how bad this offensive line could be. So I'm really worried about his health. I would not even play him this year, which is crazy. Maybe a few plays here and there. James Conner is going to come back and teach the young lad how to avoid injury. He's in the twilight of his career anyway. The good news is that this team still has literally the best tight end in football, Trey McBride. So you got to feel bad for McBride. But Marvin Harrison Jr., that wide receiver has been a big disappointment. And he's been dropping balls. I went to see some of his games. He's just not the guy that we thought he was going to be and what his dad was. Maybe he's got a lot of pressure. But I do kind of like Carson Beck. A lot of people don't like his outlook. I think he could do well. He's played with some of the best teams in college football. He's had success. He got all the way to the championship game. He threw that kind of blundering pick. I mean, they're driving to win the game, if you remember, against Indiana. But in a bad quarterback draft, I think he was really the best. Second best. Second best. Definitely not as good as Mendoza. But in my opinion, this is just a throwaway season. The question is, how much is this team going to fight? What are they going to do against the easier teams in their schedule? So that's going to be the big question. The defense last year ranked 26th in EPA per play. The offense was bad. Jacoby Brissett is just Jacoby Brissett. The question is, how long is he going to start before Carson Beck gets a shot? Probably, minimum 4 games, maybe more if he has some success. But right now, I think the Cardinals might be competing for the number 1 pick of the draft in 2027, which is loaded with quarterbacks. And if Carson Beck turns out, you have a lot of trading power. But if he turns out, then again, you might not have a great draft pick, because if he's turning out, you might be winning games. I think 4.17 games is my win total number. It's pretty dang low. My power rating for the Cardinals is -8, 8 points below the average team. So there you have it. That is my thoughts for the NFC West, the best division in football minus the Cardinals. Now, let's talk some U.S. Open with our wonderful guest, Mr. Patrick Gates. Now, I'm very pleased to welcome back Mr. Patrick Gates to the Odds Breakers. You can follow him on X at Gator Betting. Patrick, we have a big U.S. Open event this week. It looks like you're out golfing yourself a little bit, sir. How you been?
Good. How are you? Always nice to be back here. Again, this year especially, it feels like we've gone from horse racing and now we're already in the 3rd major of the year. It just really flies by. Yeah. NHL playoffs are done. NBA playoffs are done too. So now it's we're able to focus on golf a little bit. It's a baseball now before we start that NFL season back up, which is right around the corner.
Sure is. It's literally coming. I mean, hockey's just going to hit you in the face. All of a sudden, Carolina wins. It's going to hit you in the face in 2 months. It's kind of crazy how long those seasons are these days. But I don't feel so sorry for them. Because let's just face it, the normal human being gets 4 weeks to 6 weeks off work, and so why not them? So here we are. Longer seasons are fine, right? As a sports bettor, though, it gets a little tedious handicapping everything. I will say
it does.
And we just have so much going on, and we just had the Triple Crown, like you said, and nonstop so far since last August for me. But either way, here we are. U.S. Open is coming. So where's this event being played? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for the first time since 2018, it's held at Shinnecock on Long Island. Bunch of other great courses around there, too, that have hosted some notable events as well. But Shinnecock's an interesting course. In terms of comparable venues, there's not many, let's say, in the U.S. It's a link-style golf course, extremely long, over 7,400 yards. The fairways are forgiving, though, which is kind of one benefit to this course, too. They're over 48 yards wide. So players are going to be able to kind of have some room to miss. But when they do miss, and if they miss, it's going to be extremely penal. That rough and fescue is, I think it's about 5 inches. And then the fescue is going to be even worse. So being able to control the golf ball, I think, is going to be huge here. And again, going back to that link-style golf course, too, a lot of venues, maybe not so comparable from past U.S. Opens. Maybe you can argue Pinehurst is a little bit. But we're mainly looking at kind of the British Open here, or the Open Championship, whatever you want to call it. Royal Troon, Royal Portrush, those are kind of the courses that we're going to look at, too, of players having to kind of battle these weather conditions, which we'll get to in a second as well. In terms of a constant venue that we see on the PGA Tour, we're going to look at the Renaissance Club, which hosts the Scottish Open. So pretty similar course to that as well. But mainly, Shinnecock Hills is going to test players in every area of the game. Off the tee, extremely long, but it is forgiving, kind of as we talked about before. On the approach shots, too, some of these greens are just absolutely diabolical. If they miss 5 yards one way, 5 yards left, the runoffs, the ball is going to go flying. And even kind of the rough we're going to see around the green here, too. It's extremely thick, so players are going to kind of have this all-encompassing game, basically from tee to green, and then putting, again, another area, the bent POA green, something that we only see a few times on the PGA Tour this year. So an unbelievable course, extremely gorgeous, picturesque, a bunch of incredible holes that we're going to see this weekend. It should be fantastic to watch.
Sure should. That's a sure shit, right? Sure should be awesome to watch. You know, I look at this course. It looks like just clear. It looks like wind can just go flying through it, though. Yep. From side to side, and being on Long Island there, you're probably getting a little bit of breezes from the ocean itself.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the wind conditions pretty much every day, it looks like it's going to be 20 plus miles per hour. Thursday is going to be the only day that we're going to see some rain, but going through this entire tournament, you're going to hear players bitching and moaning throughout this entire event, claiming it's too hard or they've lost the course. But conditions are going to be ruthless, which is kind of what we want to see, right? We only get 1, maybe 2 tournaments a year where, as a golf fan, you can kind of watch these professionals struggle a little bit. And that's all you're kind of hoping for, is you get that one sweet taste of like, all right, they know what I'm dealing with on Saturday or Sunday. Not even comparable at the same skill level, but at least watching someone else struggle a little bit kind of helps you feel a little bit better about your golf game per se. And I think that's what we're going to see this weekend. The winning score they projected is around 2 to 3 under.
Ooh.
Last year at Oakmont, it was 1 under. I'd be shocked if we saw that 2 to 3 under. I'm guessing this winning score is going to be back to around even par, if I had to guess.
You're making me think about betting missing the cut. Some of these big favorites, man. I mean,
yeah, there's a few guys that I like to miss the cut.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So you already covered the weather. Only rain a little bit on Thursday. Is it enough?
Yeah.
Is it enough to kind of delay the game?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what they have to do here. People have been going back and forth pretty much all week in terms of which tee time. Is it the AM, PM, or the PM, AM have kind of the extreme weather advantage? And right now it looks to be about pretty similar, right? Before, I think the AM, PM had a pretty big advantage, but as we've progressed throughout this week, that margin or kind of advantage that they've had has certainly minimized. So I think the weather delays are not necessarily going to happen. Certainly could. Thursday be the only day that it does happen, but I think we're going to be able to get 4 days of clear kind of conditions that without any interruptions per se.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about the key stats of this course. What are we looking for? How are we handicapping it?
Yeah, pretty much standard every major tournament too with this one. So we're going to look at on approach and our play around the green.
Say that again one more time. It was
You lose me
breaking
for a
up.
second?
I lost you for a second, but it's a little better now.
Yeah. Nope, sorry about that. Yeah, so we're going to start with the tee to green play, which encompasses our strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach, and strokes gained around the green. We're also going to look at putting as well, not just how players have performed on this grass surface in the past with a POA bent mix. We're also going to look at three-putt avoidance. Obviously, some of these greens can be extremely difficult, and trying to minimize those three putts is going to be extremely beneficial. Outside of that, we're going to look at how players have done in the kind of strokes gained wind in the past. How have they dealt with the Genesis, Scottish Open? How have they dealt with Pebble Beach? How have they dealt with some of these other courses that are on the coastal line exposed to these windy conditions? Because that's what we're going to see this week. Good drives gained and total driving kind of encompasses both the distance and accuracy off the tee. The nation this week. There's several ways you can win at Shinnecock. It's not just going to be the distance, kind of trying to overpower this long course, but I think players are going to be able to plot themselves around the course, avoid mistakes, and just try to stay along that.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
That even line where I expect the winning score to come from. Another few things, too, is going to be sand saves gained. I think Shinnecock is over 160 bunkers, which is the most players are going to see on tour this year. They're not only going to see them around the greens, but also in key spots on the fairway as well. So being a good sand player is going to be huge as well. And then the last thing we're going to kind of key on is going to be bogey avoidance, just keeping those red numbers off the card and just kind of staying the course here, not necessarily focusing on players who can take advantage of some of these easier courses, but players who can kind of withstand these difficult conditions.
Yeah, so trying to not three-putt huge, obviously fast greens and bogey avoidance, setting yourself up well. And you mentioned Palm Beach and other windy courses. That's interesting. How do I find that information, Patrick? How do I say, okay, I'm looking for, is there some sort of algorithm site that where I'm looking for this golfer that did well at Scotland and Palm Beach and maybe a couple other windy courses, and then obviously use that info to handicap this?
Yeah, BetSperts is kind of the site I use. It has a model pre-made for you that you can kind of check out how other people are handicapping the course as well. But they have all the key stats you could ever need to know for the tournament. So love their site. It is a subscription-based service, but you find it extremely kind of useful, especially when you're going towards some of these major tournaments and courses that we haven't really seen in a few years. So big shout out to them.
Okay, BetSperts. It sounds like BetSperts has some good stuff here when it comes to a lot of these stats for golf. So I love it. There you go. BetSperts Golf can kind of sum it up for you. So and obviously if you're a huge golf fan like Patrick, you probably already know this. You kind of see how these guys and his favorite players and players, necessarily that he's faded before he might be on because they've done good in other courses. All right, well, sounds good. Who are the favorites in this tournament? And maybe mention the odds and what you kind of think of first thoughts.
Yeah, let's start with it. Let's start with the top here. We'll go down the list of kind of the first five guys. So Scotty Scheffler's could be around 5-1 on most books. Didn't play last time the U.S. Open was hosted at Shinnecock, so we don't have any necessarily information from him on this course. He has succeeded, though, or has played well in the U.S. Opens, kind of in the past. T7 last year, T41 the year before, 3 2nd, 7th. And this is a big year for Scott. Last year at the Masters, when he he finally won at Augusta National. Sorry, you got me cutting.
Oh, it's cutting out a little bit and out. I'm not sure which side it is on, but keep going ahead. It's enough to listen.
In and out, I feel like.
Go ahead.
Yep. Sorry, you got me now?
I think I do. Let me take you out and see if that helps. So go ahead and see if that makes it any better. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, let's see if that works now. Hopefully it does. Yeah, Scotty kind of attempting his first career Grand Slam. That's kind of the big storyline this week. Rory got it done last year at Augusta. Scotty, this will be the first time that he's trying to do it. Has not played at this course before, but his course profile fits the course extremely well. So that's going to be something to watch. Rory is playing well entering this event. Obviously, won the Masters in back-to-back years. He's the second favorite at around 9-1. Did play back at Shinnecock Hills in 2018 where he missed the cut. And he's kind of really transitioned to mainly just focusing on major championships. But again, in every major championship that he's competed in, especially at this U.S. Open, T19 last year, second, and fifth. He almost won at Pinehurst when Bryson kind of jumped him in the last hole. After that, we go to John Rahm at 10-1. He's played pretty well on the Live Tour this season at Shinnecock. The cut Xander 18-1. Xander's kind of had a weird year. Is playing a little bit better heading into this event. Did play in 2018 where he finished sixth. So we do have that. But just really hasn't kind of been the same player that we saw after that kind of 2 years ago when he made that run and won two majors in that season. And the fifth player kind of rounding out the odds boards is going to be Cameron Young. Cameron Young has already won twice on the tour this year, coming off not necessarily playing his best golf in his last few starts, but certainly does have a tie to the New York area. So he'll be another player to watch as well.
All right, the usual suspects, my man. It's kind of like how it is. It's like I'd be scared.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny.
It really is.
I remember Sky Scheffler was like plus 250, plus 300 for a while to win. Now he's like, plus 550, plus 450 in some sites. It's like, I don't know if I want to bet a guy that's never played this course because of the challenges here, Patrick. I almost feel like staying away. If Scotty wins, you hand it the Grand Slam to him. He did a great job. That's what he wanted to accomplish. But it's like, how do you bet a guy at 5-1 in golf who's never played that course?
Yeah, it's tough because this is kind of the worst he's looked in the past few years as well, right? His only win this year came in his first start. Following that, he did have a stretch where he finished runner-up 3 consecutive times, but in terms of kind of how dominant he's been in this sport in the past few years, this has certainly been a down year for him.
Yeah, it certainly has in general. So he's kind of heating up a little bit here, but I am worried about him. What about some of the long shots in this? Why don't you talk about some that you might like here as far as, possibly the cash in a long ticket?
Yeah, I mean, going down the list, traditionally long shots in the U.S. Open are going to be around that 40 to 50 to 1, right? We saw JJ Spawn win it last year at Oakmont at 150 to 1. That was kind of an outlier. Before that, Wyndham Clark in 2023 at Los Angeles Country Club won it at 80 to 1. But for the most part, you're going to see kind of the cream rise to the top here in terms of this event. So a few long shots that I do kind of have circled on the board this week is going to be Russell Henley at 37 to 1. He's kind of a guy that I have my eye on, along with Sam Burns. Sam Burns was kind of in the lead for a while last week at the RBC Canadian Open and kind of fell off after that, but has played well in the U.S. Opens in past and kind of fits this course as well. Brooks Koepka at 29 to 1 is going to be interesting to watch. He withdrew.
Cutting out a little bit, but Yeah, Koepka did withdraw last week from.
Sorry, you got me now?
Yeah, it's
you got me now?
Yeah, a little bit better. But he
Yeah.
withdrew last week, and that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, he won here back in 2018. So that's like the kind of part that you have to rival with, I guess, here. His last time it was held here, he did win, but he did withdraw last week due to his hand. So that's something that we kind of do have to consider as well. A few other names kind of going down the board, too. Patrick Reed's an interesting character this week. Back in January, he announced that he's done with LIV, wants nothing to do with it. And so he's going to play on the DP World Tour to kind of get his PGA Tour card back, which is where he wants to be in a year. He started off on the DP Tour red hot, won, I think, 2 of his first 3 events, has since then not really played much, played in the Masters where he finished 12th, played in the PGA Championship where he finished 10th, and returns to Shinnecock where he finished. So hasn't really played much golf, but is certainly one. So, yeah, those are kind of the long shots that I was looking at.
All right. So Henley, Burns, Koepka, and Patrick Reed is what we're looking at. Okay, sounds good. And unfortunately, our internet is not.
Chris got her up as well.
Got her up. Okay.
Yeah, the internet's brutal right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
The internet is killing us right now, but you're still giving us great names and great things to bet on. So I love it. So how are you gonna construct your ticket? Are you going to just bet winners? Are you gonna do some top 10s, top 20s, not to make the cuts? How are you gonna do your ticket?
Yeah, so I got a few bets, kind of standard outrights, a few matchups as well, which I'll kind of give one out, and then some props, and then some placements as well. The placements are going to kind of be the majority, where the majority of the money is this week too. Hitting an outright is much more difficult, but if you can kind of continue to turn a positive ROI on the placements, it is going to kind of keep your bankroll alive during this long and tedious golf betting season. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach it. A little bit more at risk in terms of the matchup and prop market than normal. It is a major championship, but that's kind of how I'm going to approach it. Nothing really out of the ordinary when looking at this event.
All right, sounds good. Well, let's hear it, man. What are we going with?
My favorite matchup this week is going to be Tyrrell Hatton over Colin Morikawa. Colin Morikawa, that's minus 112 on FanDuel for everyone looking at that. Colin Morikawa had a really interesting year. First 2 events struggled, missed the cut in one of them. I think finished T55 around there. After that, since then he was on a tear. Won the Pebble Beach, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and then posted I think 4 consecutive top 10s after that. Following that, he withdrew at the Players after the first hole due to a back injury. And while his results have kind of been trending in the right direction since then, in his last 3 starts, you still look at the underlying numbers. His approach play is not what it was. His distance off the tee has certainly gone down as well. His accuracy has been struggling as well. Even though the results are improving, it's been heavily in reliance on his putting, which has been extremely volatile throughout his entire career. Tyrrell Hatton, on the other hand, is a player who is comfortable in these conditions, loves link-style golf, has played pretty well on the DP World Tour, is coming off a win on the DP or on LIV in Spain. He's in much better form than Colin Morikawa. I just don't trust Morikawa. While the results are pointing towards him improving, the underlying metrics are still kind of raising a red flag. And I think Hatton should be able to kind of beat him this week in a head-to-head matchup. So it's not necessarily a full-blown confidence in Hatton. It's more so I don't think Morikawa is going to be as competitive as people think. He kind of still dealing with that back injury.
All right. Well, there you go. It could be the back injury that messes him up, and that's a good little play. How about the long shots to win it? Are you going to play on Henley, Burns, Koepka, Reed, and Goddard up?
That is correct. Yeah. And those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at this week. So that's kind of the card. And then one of the favorites as well, Matt Fitzpatrick Fitzpatrick finished second last week at the RBC Canadian Open, almost won the Players earlier this year, and still has 2 wins. He has just been absolutely unbelievable this year. Also won the 2022 U.S. Open back at the Country Club in Brookline. So that's gonna kind of round up my card this week. If I have one guy kind of near the top of the leaderboard, and I think that is Matt Fitzpatrick.
Matt Fitzpatrick. Well, there you go. That's some great stuff from Patrick. And, of course, now our internet's working way better now that we're getting to the end of the show. But you got the plays there. Yep. So I love it. No, that's some great stuff. Thank you for your information, Patrick. Where could our listeners and viewers follow you for more golf tips?
Yeah, for more golf, you can follow me on my Twitter at Gator Betting. All my articles are posted over on Rotoballer at Rotoballer PGA. There's a tournament preview in my picks article every week over there. So be sure to go check that out.
All right, make sure you follow Patrick. Patrick, thanks again. We'll be texting this weekend. Best of luck on your plays.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, my friends, there you have it. Sorry for the internet connection issues. That's life. But we were able to get some of his plays and the golfers that Patrick likes for the U.S. Open. Next week, we'll be back for some more NFL. I'm going to try to cover 2 divisions next week and the final 2 AFC ones the week after so we can get right back into college football. I mean, college football is rolling here. I got all my magazines. I'm super excited. So we're going to get into college football very soon. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Enjoy all the wonderful games, the World Cup games. You got college baseball. You got MLB. You got more UFC. Obviously, U.S. Open, my friends. And go get some winners.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.